Alright everyone, welcome to my build order video. The purpose of this video is to introduce a mech build in TvZ that doesn't open battlecruiser. And the reason I wanted to do this is because I just personally dislike making battlecruisers in TvZ so much. I don't know what it is. Maybe there's some of you who could relate to that. You just don't like the opener. It feels kind of weird to me, at least. I understand that it's meta, and so this is kind of an off-meta guide for those of you who wanted to try something else. I made this video first and foremost for myself because I wanted to learn as much as I could about some optimal ways to do this, but I also was hoping that it could help other people out. So if you like this video and you want maybe more mech guides, more Terran guides, let me know kind of what ideas you guys have and I'll consider them for the future. So this opener is an 8 hellion opener. I would say it's a map specific build. I don't think you should be doing this like every map. I think maps like Death Aura, like this one, Romanticide, Eternal Empire has been long known as a great mech map. Do it on maps like that. In fact, if you want to be really balanced, be good at both mech and bio. At least that's something I try to do as much as possible. So anyways, I like to scout off of the racks with my SCV. So I send the SCV that finishes building the racks to go to the Zerg side of the map to scout the hatchery timing. If you get there and the hatchery is completed, then you know that it's macro. If you get there and it's maybe like 75% done, then that should be a red flag to you. Some sort of aggression is coming. And you would want to scout further than just the natural. But if you see that the hatchery is pretty much done, you're good to go home with the SCV. You know that it's macro at that point. So you get a single marine and then a factory, refinery right after. I should mention that I rallied the SCV that was first made from the orbital to go make the factory. And like I mentioned, this is an 8 hellion opener, a little bit different than, you know, the standard 6 hellions. 8 hellions kind of all the rage right now. We see a lot of players like Clem do it. Obviously he goes bio, but I still think it works great going into mech because you have so much aggressive potential early on. The really cool thing about this build actually though is the variations you have with your starport. So we're going to start a starport right after the factory finishes. Obviously this is the 111. And options you have with the starport is, first, if you're afraid of roaches, you can always go Banshee. But if you're not afraid of roaches, I recommend going Viking first. This allows you to clear overlords. You're kind of guaranteed to at least get, you know, 2 overlord kills, I would say, usually, with your Viking, which is really nice. Imagine as Terran losing 2 supply depots at the beginning of the game. And then from there, you have the option to make one more starport unit, usually between a Liberator and a Medevac. I would say that maps that you feel are good for Liberator, go Liberator. I think that this map, personally, is best for Medevac, because I think Liberators are going to have a hard time getting into the main and sieging in an optimal location. With the Medevac drop as well, I sent my Viking. As soon as the Viking pops, it's going to go clear Overlord by the Watchtower, by the Pervert Pillar. And then it's going to go all the way across the map, kind of to where I would like to drop my Medevac to clear Overlords there. I should also have mentioned that around 34 supply, you're going to want to start building depots. You don't need to do it quite as early as 32, but I found if I waited till 38 when the Hellions popped, it was too late. So you could see there the Viking was going to go clear Overlords. That's great. As soon as you can afford it, get your 3rd CC. This is going to be around 420. If you're better than me, you could probably get it early if you have better macro. But anyways, right after your 3rd CC starts, start your gases. You're going to need those gases probably before you start your factories. And it's nice because you get really early factories with this build. In fact, we kind of delay the armory just a little bit in order to optimally get our production going first, which is more important these days with mech. from what I've been told for some players who are a bit better than me. It's okay to delay the armory slightly. We're not going to delay it a lot. It's going to come around 520. And you do have the option of going double factory or single factory. This build, I chose to opt for single factory because when I've messed around with this build, I've had a hard time affording double armory. That's just, it's just a personal preference. Do you want to max out by 10 minutes or do you want to max out by 9 minutes? With 9 minutes 30 with a little bit less upgrades. The difference is 2-2 versus 2-1. So 520 armory. Then around 5:30, you could probably get them a bit earlier. It looked like I had the money for it, so you could get your extra production going. It's really nice with this build because you just have so much production early on. So as soon as those factories land, I guess let me pause the video here. You have a few choices. If you're really afraid of Mutalisk, you can get 2 Thors and go up to 2 Medevacs and have elephants on roller skates chasing Mutalisks around, or at least that's what it feels like to me when I do Thor drops. I wouldn't do that. I would default instead to 2 tanks and then start mag filled and blue flame right away. Those upgrades are super important for our battle mech, which is going to be the primary force we use to keep pressure on the map, to clear creep, to deny bases, etc. The number of battle mech is kind of something that varies depending upon the Zerg's composition, but you always want to get about 4 to 6 tanks first before transitioning into battle mech. If you don't do that, you could just die to a roach push. So really important to do that first. I should also mention, as soon as the 3rd CC lifts, I think it's best that you start your NG bay, and you want to get turrets building around the time that your eBay finishes. I think if I was a bit better, I could have had the turret starting around 6:30, and I would go anywhere between 3 and 6 turrets depending on what you feel like the Zerg is doing or how much information you have and how much you've scouted. Ideal places to put it would be at least 1 in each mineral line. Then you could have 1 by your production, and then maybe another by your tanks so they don't get picked off by mutas. We know that mutas are, if you've been playing StarCraft lately, you notice that mutas are very popular, very in the meta. They're super annoying to deal with. Turrets were just going to help you stop that pressure from doing, critical damage to you. So about as soon as your armory is halfway through with +1 attack, start another armory. If you're going to go for the single armory variation. So that means by the time we max out, we'll have +2, +1. Around 7:30 to 8 minutes, you're going to want to start a 4th base. So as soon as you can afford it, get that 4th base going. Now this game I think I chose to make up after I made 4 tanks. I went to right around 6 cyclones. I don't know that there's an exact magic number. Okay, this is just something I'm choosing to do. And then I'm going into Thors just in case of Mutalisks. I think you need the Thors early on to be safe. Kind of after you make the Thors, it's up to you to decide what you want to do. Do you want to keep making battle mech? Or do you want to keep making siege tanks? And realistically, it's not necessarily up to you. It's up to what the Zerg is doing. If they're going pure Roach Ravager, then by all means, keep making Cyclones. If they are going maybe like Ravengerling Bane, then you're going to want to add some siege tanks. If they're going Ling Bane Muta, I see a lot of higher level Terrans, like I think it was TY I was watching. They'll go even like Mines and Thors just to stay safe. And they're not even worried about a timing attack. They're just worried about getting to 5 bases. And a lot of this build is going to revolve around 5 bases. Like, yes, maxing out and pushing is a thing that you can do. But what's most important is getting to our 5 bases as quickly and safely as we can. So I chose to add on 8 factories. That's the stylistic choice. I think it's a good one, though. It's up to you to decide if that's something you want to do, or if you'd rather maybe go something like 1-5-3, so like 3 starports total before you add on extra factories. I think ideally, though, in late game, you end up around 1-8-3 anyways. So just kind of a thing depending upon which composition you're choosing to go for. Obviously, if you go heavier into the starports, you're going to be rushing for liberators. Maybe you're trying to go to Thor Lib, for example. So around 9 minutes 30, we're going to max out, and we're going to have +2 and +1. You can obviously go for a timing if you want. It's not necessarily required though, from what I've been talking to some other people, to hit a timing. The most important thing really is getting that 5th base. So if you notice, as soon as I landed my 4th base, I started my 5th. That's really important, and on a map like this, you can get 4 bases quite easily. Getting that 5th base though is going to be really hard. It's all the 5th base locations, they're very exposed. I would recommend though going for the one in front of the 3rd base because it has the rich Vespian geyser. Really good for mech. Okay, so from here you would just play it out like a normal game, keep getting your upgrades. Depending upon the Zerg composition, you would decide what to do from there. And I think that's everything for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any suggestions, please let me know. And I appreciate you watching. Bye.